Godzilla x Kong. For this review, we will start with Godzilla. Godzilla 2024, also known as Evolved Godzilla. This model was built and based after the toys and a couple of images revealed in the trailer. So by the time the movie is out, this might be outdated. Evolved Godzilla had many unique features compared to the last legendary Godzillas. Let's discuss them. One of the first things many people were pointing out were the spikes on the tail, almost like a stegosaurus. In this build, I made them all standing straight up, unrealistic towards how they actually are, but with this build's size, it works. Another incredibly noticeable thing is the pink accents and the dorsal fins. My amount of pieces in pink are very low, so I've had to resort to using many different shades of pink, light pink, and magenta. Speaking of dorsal fins, the dorsal fins on this build you might notice only have 2 rows. This is due to the size of Godzilla, as I wanted him to appear skinnier and not as chubby or wide. He also appeared to have shoulder spikes on his arms, which were imitated here with just 1 piece. Final unique features is just kind of the overall body of Godzilla. His legs were skinnier, arms were longer, his torso was shrunk in, his head was larger, pink dorsal fins, a slightly tanner belly, and almost a bluish-green color for his skin. That might just be the lighting in the Hollow Earth. Now for everyone's favorite subject, the articulation. The articulation on this build is exactly where you would expect it to be. For the head, there is a ball joint, and the mouth is a hinge. The neck also just has a ball joint, as well as the torso has a ball joint to let it rotate and look side to side within the waist. And then the arms have a ball joint for the shoulder and some sort of hinge for the elbow, and once again another ball joint for the hand. I know, they're everywhere. The legs use, who would have guessed? More ball joints, and the knees use more ball joints as well. And once again, as you can see here, the hands, legs, toes, feet also use more ball joints. And then the tail, no articulation of the dorsal fins this time. The tail is just 2 ball joints going down and then 2 hinges. Very basic articulation, but it functions flawlessly. I don't have the exact date, but I can say this build was built somewhere January 8th, 2024. The average height of this build when standing up equals almost 15 bricks tall. Not that high, but when crouching at a forward position, ends up reaching only 10 / when crawling. So there is a reason for this build to be at this scale. Godzilla ends up being a perfect height compared to all the other GXK Titans. Now moving on to Kong. Kong 2024, also known as King Kong. Unfortunately, that title has not been given yet, but we can still pretend like it has. The Kong doesn't look too different from the past movies. Definitely has differences, such as the first one you might have noticed on the build, a darker fur palette. Kong's fur is noticeably and clearly still brown in GXK, but I resorted to using a black color for several reasons, as well as it contrasts with Godzilla a little better and helps makes his beast gloves stand out. I've also tried to give him a bit of a beard. Unrealistically, it's less of a beard than my build for GVK, but realistically, a pretty large beard. One thing this build has that might stand out or might not even notice is a much more human-like posture and physique. I think that's the word at least. The most noticeable thing about Kong is his beast glove, which to make pop and stand out more, I chose to use the bright yellow instead of light orange. I'll go more in depth on this beast glove in the how to build tutorial, but here you can see how it's done at least, to a certain extent. Now let's move quickly to everyone's favorite subject, the height. Kong's height actually ends up reaching somewhere around 15 bricks tall. Sounds familiar? If you have Kong stand on all 4s, you will end up standing almost 15 as well, but more close to 10. Sound familiar? Yes, these happen to be the same stats of Godzilla's. Together I tried to make them perfect heights. And as you can see with these photos, they do work pretty well together. Now let's move on to everyone's least favorite subject, the articulation. Articulation-wise, the head will have a ball joint to connect it from the neck, and the mouth will have a hinge. Yeah, I know, completely unoriginal. The neck will have a hinge this time instead of a ball joint. Connecting toward the body, the arms will have a ball joint for a shoulder, a hinge for the elbow, and a ball joint for the arm. Now it's a little different. The torso has a Technic pin, letting it swing from left to right, and the legs have a something large ball joint, and the knees will have a hinge, as well as the feet, whatever, will have a ball joint. There is no tail to discuss articulation, but the beast glove does have a hinge which lets it move up and down, just in case you want the arm or slash hand to be positioned differently. I can't say exactly when this one was built either, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the 9th or the 10th of January 2024. Now before we end, we should talk about the builds together. The two builds go quite well together, reaching almost the same height in almost every single position. When Godzilla crawls or bends forward, it is the same height as Kong on all fours. Godzilla also has a realistically smaller head than Kong, but still big. There isn't too much to say about the builds together, as together they are still two the exact same build. But now let me announce something a little bit bigger with the size of these builds. The Warbat I built not long ago. I made a mistake and said he was 20 bricks tall. I lied. He's 15 bricks tall. Sound familiar? Yes, that is the same size of Kong and Godzilla. The Warbat will fit in with all of the legendary builds. Here's where I announce a future series planned, where I will be building every single legendary Godzilla within this scale. And the Warbat was the first. The Warbat might be a little bit bigger than originally anticipated, because I had to shrink these builds just a little bit, so the Warbat might still be big, but fits quite nicely. And I will not be discussing them in this video, but Scar King, his slaves, and Shimu all fit to this scale. Yes, I said Shimu, ignore that, I know it's Shimo. This is the first episode of Godzilla x Kong. By the way, thank you for 500 subscribers. I've been trying to find ways to celebrate, and I have tons of plans that will be announced throughout the future. Well, as why this video is out, there is a YouTube poll where you can vote which kaiju will be the next for the theme of the channel. Currently, it is Godzilla -1 with the color of blue. The votes are Ghidorah for yellow, Burning Godzilla for orange, Evolved Godzilla for pink, and Final Wars for light blue. Whichever wins will become the face of the channel, and I will build the best build I can using all my pieces. Around that kaiju, I will change my profile picture, and I will change the banner. As well, finally give myself an intro and an outro, and a new thumbnail style. So thank you for 500 subscribers, and if you haven't voted already, make sure to go vote. If you can't vote, you're probably not using the app, you're probably using the website. And if you're on a PC, I think it's the same. Or a console, weirdly enough. And you probably noticed I'm having slightly slower uploads, and that will continue to be this way, as I'll probably only be posting around 3 to 4 videos a week, if none. Well, thanks for 500 subscribers, thank you for watching, and I don't have an outro, so goodbye.